Good evening. I take this opportunity to just greet you and welcome you to our session for today. And my question is, what makes a real man behold their biological beyond their biological creation? And this research about what makes a real man is something that has really made me to do a lot of research about understanding our society, especially here in Kenya. We have had revolutions in terms of men and in terms of culture, in terms of different things that has affected who is a real man. And from this, due to the changes, most of the times from my research, we have ended up losing most of even the good things that were in the first group that really saw a man differently from how we see a man today. The culture dictated who a man is. The society dictated who a man is. The job, the career dictated. The societal role dictated who a man is. So today my question is, who is a real man? Behold the biological creation. And from this, I will be focusing more on those revolutions that have happened since my research in 1950s, 1960s. And from that, we will be trying to understand the masculinity. And now we will also try to understand what makes a true masculinity, because we have a lot of false masculinity in our society today. In every generation, we have earned a different definition of who is a real man. There are many character traits that are very good, but in every generation I've tried to research on, they lost one thing. They focused on correcting the mistake of the previous generation. To an extent, they forgot that there is also one mistake that they will make that will also affect the next generation. And that's exactly what I want us to discuss. Because if we don't correct the mistake in our society today, I think in future we'll have no men. I've heard many people talking about what kind of men is a society raising today. But also my question is, what are we doing to raise kind of men that we'd like to see? The weighing scale that we are placing men today is the weighing scale that we were placed on. And that's where the mistake is coming in. But the one thing that we have to understand the history of the revolution of man. So, the definition of a real man and masculinity is very, very, very elusive thing. So, traditional masculinity and our modern masculinity. They are two different things. The traditional masculinity used to view man in form of strength, because most of the things the man was classified in terms of the hard work, the work they can do using their hands, in terms of honor. That's why the polygamous families were seen as the kings. You couldn't be a king. You couldn't be seen as a great man in the society if you are not polygamous. The number of children, that was what defined men in those days. The power, influence, the chiefs in traditional African society, the men who worked in the colonial government those days. These families were seen as great men in the society. And those were some of the things that defined men in those days. But our culture today defines men differently. And this is what I would like us to talk about. So, the men should not cry. That was the notion that was being sold those days. But today we are telling men that they can cry. They can express their emotions. Long time ago, in those years, men were told that men should not express their emotions. Men should be courageous. I am not despiting. I'm not refusing that these were the good traits. But today we have to understand now what makes a real man, what makes a true man. We have boys, and these boys, they need mentorship. And unless we try to correct the mistake, we are making the greatest mistake as a society and the men who are living today. So, the time that when men were being told, you are a warrior, that really meant who a man is in the society. So, today, I would like us to focus our discussion on few things. That is, understanding the revolutions of man in terms of becoming a real man, and the mistakes they have made, and we have ended up where we are today. So, just be free to walk with me and to be with me in this discussion, because I believe that we are going to get more, because I believe there is hope and a lot of hope to correct the mistake that many young boys are experiencing, young men, even adults are experiencing today. So, many young men are heading up into depression, others in anxiety, others even in suicide or suicidal thoughts. Others have ended up in senselessness or violent in our society. These are things that define men today. And this shows we have lost it. In this country, we have seen the culture of goonism. Why are these things happening? We have seen a lot of domestic violence happening in our nation. We have seen a lot happening. We have seen suicide amongst very young men. We have seen depression taking men to grave. What are we doing? Don't we think that there is something wrong in our society? I believe there is. And that's what we are working towards correcting. So, where have real men gone? Where have all the real men gone? We have a society today, but very few authentic and real men we have. And we must find the answer to this question for ourselves. We must define masculinity for ourselves. If we don't, we are making a very great mistake to our society today and to our future generation. So we have a lot to do as a society. We have a lot to do as a society. And by saying this, let's look at some of the revolution, evolution that has taken place of our men. So when I talk about that, there was a generation where strength, duty, and diligence used to define men. And in this generation, where society, where men were defined by the kind of the diligent, the duty, and everything. In that, it was all about hard work. Hard work was the culture. There was nothing else except how hard working are you. And this was referred as, I think from what I've seen, it was referred as industrial man. This was now the culture, the industrial man. Nothing has been more transformation to modern masculinity and the rise of what we call the industrial revolution. In this, the first priority given to man, and for you to be defined as man, the one thing was how hard work are you. And the hard work is not about anything else. It's about what are you doing as a man. And in the industrial revolution, many men used to focus more on the things within the family. They valued family. Family was highly involved. These people, they spent time with their children because everything was surrounded around the family. A family man was seen as the uniting factor for the family. If we are going to the farm, the whole family is going to the farm. And I think if it's about a man who was skilled and a skilled that can be traded, iron making, the man was seen as a great man. And the family was involved. That's why there was a lot of apprenticeship. They copied. If there was a skilled ironsmith, automatically within the family, there must be such a child who follows the footsteps of the father. So, apprenticeship was seen as a main thing, a main way of learning, and this brought the family unit together. His wife would manage his house. That was it. The wife was seen as the house manager. And he had the neighbor, the father, the family man, and a very close relationship with the neighbors. So it's very important to understand this evolution. This man have said this man was seen as a family man. This man was a unifying factor. He had a very close relationship with the neighbors. So there is a lot which has happened today, as the history has recorded it. So, this man was more focused on acquiring things for the family. The work was, the labor was from the family. And this led to now evolution of the industrial manner, where now the factories, the men now worked to change the labor now. The man changed from being a family man, working just within a family, to now focusing on now working in the factories. And this is where now the education, the professionalism, personal development became a priority to men. And in this generation is where the one thing, because in the previous generation we have seen these people, they were family men. But now when people started going to the factory, the men were seen as the ATM, a working ATM. So and these men focused on personal development. So they were egocentric with knowledge. They focused on acquiring knowledge for themselves. So knowledge for work became very important. And in this generation, we find men focused on not just the handwork using their hands, but now using their minds to do something. Working smart, not just handwork. Handwork plus smartness in mind. And this one led to people now focusing that knowledge became very important. And from this, we focused on being a professional. Men were encouraged to dress smartly. This is where now I think most of our politicians belong in this category. And in this, knowledge was very important. Eating books was a main factor. If you are not educated, you are not considered to have achieved highly, to have reached, to have actualized who a man should be. And due to this, many people lost their families. It led to what we call family breakdown, because this was a lot of egocentric personal development. So in this category, there was a lot of what we call infidelity. Immorality became a culture, because these men viewed women as items they have acquired, as just gifts they have gotten, because they were all about me. What I've acquired, what do I have? The knowledge. So in the knowledge, the women were not seen anywhere. And that's why family breakdown, domestic violence was a culture. And this where the family, the unity, family unity started being eroded. And in this, because they were trying to correct the previous generation mistake, that where they saw them, they just, like they used their hands, their technical skills, but this one they wanted to show they have a good mind, they are book smart. And this is where led to the family erosion of the family and the family unity. We have missed it, but we can correct it. So now in this generation, weaknesses, family breakdown, infidelity, and also even the children, they never got attention with their parents because the parents were very busy working. They were very, very busy working for the family. To an extent, they never end time with their children. The next generation that I will be discussing before we go to the next thing, take a time, click that subscribe button to my YouTube channel, or go to the YouTube channel at Ruben Muindi and subscribe to my channel. You can like the video, you can watch, you can comment, and I will be there to give you the feedback. Thank you, and let's meet in the next session as we continue discussing the evolution of man in this generation. Thank you.